differently. Nice. We love them on the road and under the hood, but also check the tech and are known for telling it like it is. Ugly is included at no extra cost. The good, the bad, the bottom line. First met the new Ford GT in January 2015 at the Detroit Auto Show, where it was an unexpected surprise unveil. And the initial story was lots of power, audacious styling, exotic materials. To be honest, we've heard that song before in the supercar canon. What was really interesting was our more recent trip to Ford's Silicon Valley Research Institute, where we got to look at the car from a different angle and learned that less truly is more when it comes to the new GT. Let's face it, we hear about lightweight technology in the auto industry all the time, but for most car buyers, it doesn't really print. But what lightweight is all about is everything that a vehicle's all about. Better performance, better fuel efficiency, which leads to lower emissions, and better handling dynamics in every direction the vehicle goes. Committed to this ethic is the coming Ford GT. 600 plus horsepower from a turbo V6 mounted in the middle on an aluminum subframe behind a carbon fiber centered tub driving the rear wheels. To be honest, that architecture has been done before. And you can buy a 700 horsepower Dodge Challenger for 60 grand. So what's really going on here? It's how the new GT will seek performance by burdening itself less, lighter weight, and less envelope, the vehicle's physical outline. It's the essential story of this car. Now, Raj, this is such a big effort. You got a car with incredible performance, but it's got less weight, less bulk.
Right.
So what used to be win on Sunday, sell on Monday is now lightweight on Sunday, sell on Monday. Right?
Absolutely. For the engineer, it's win on Sunday and then take that and mainstream on Monday.
How important is it to use carbon fiber versus aluminum?
Carbon fiber is lighter and it's strong. And as a designer, what it does is it gives me greater flexibility to create unique forms that I can't create in steel and aluminium.
So now these flying buttresses are one that you point out. Why couldn't you have made those flying buttresses out of aluminum? We hear that all the time. We couldn't have done that in metal.
Steel or aluminium needs to be pressed. You need to have a die and it's pressed, and you have maximum draw depth, and then you have radiuses which are really restricting based on your maximum depth of draw.
It would tear or be too thin?
It would tear, it would be too thin. I wouldn't get the draw depth between this point and this point in a tool.
One of the first things you notice as you come back like so is this thing gets real narrow real fast. In fact, you can reach across and touch the other glass.
There's three key factors in creating the ultimate performance car. One is lightweight, second is aerodynamics. It has a really tapered cabin. It's really narrow at the cabin. And it allows us also to manage the airflow much better than on a traditional full volume car.
This tapering here helps the wind see less car as it's coming.
Yes.
We would normally think the face is kind of where it all ends.
So a normal car, you would fill out this volume.
You just have
the glass would be here, but imagine how much...
That's a foot.
That's, on each side,
That's
which I'm not pushing through the air. We're managing the airflow to direct it straight onto the aero devices like the rear wheel.
Which is interesting. We hear so much about lightweight of products.
But it's also light footprint.
The rage in supercars these days has been hybrid. Porsche's 918, Ferrari's LaFerrari, the McLaren P1. But to stay light and lean, Ford skipped the added motor, big battery, and the inverter that would have meant weight and volume to put somewhere. Less under the skin means less skin to move through the air.
The main reasons we chose this engine is it is compact. It's one of our mainstream engines. Yes, it's got a little bit, a few of the components are a little bit more exotic.
Little more.
But the foundations of this car are the same that's in your F-150. And it allows us to shrink wrap all this body around this engine. It also produces high power. Over 600 horsepower from this engine. It's also fuel efficient. If we didn't need the extra 2 cylinders, why do we need to put them on? If they added weight and they added fuel consumption and they added mass, why did we need them?
As I look at it here, I see these buttresses come back, and they seem to almost be supporting these pods over the rear wheels.
What's in there is an intercooler. There's a vent here.
There's a grill in the front
There's a grill. It's an intercooler and radiator. The air feeds through the buttress. So it's not just there.
So that's your bleed off to go into the engine.
Air feeds into the engine.
That's your intake run.
Yes. So we exhaust the air through the middle of the lamps. These engineering ideas created great aesthetic design ideas. It's a beautiful looking thing. Right? But it's also clever and innovative. And that balance between looking amazing but also delivering a clever solution is what this car is all about.
Now, lightweight technologies do have some hurdles. They tend to be exotic in terms of rapid workflow and production. They tend to be more expensive right now, as we've heard about some of the carbon fiber technologies. And let's face it, the auto industry is one that is known for inertia, doing things the way it's done things, although that's changing quite a bit lately. Still, the GT's wholesale lightweighting approach is a leading-edge look at what is and will increasingly happen to mainstream cars. Lightweighting is no longer optional or limited to cars in the stratosphere like this. It makes every motion a car accomplishes better and does it with less energy. In the dumbest part of driving, a collision. But your next car may not even allow them, as the smarter driver will find out. driving car, we're going to make a few stops, one of which will be the crash-proof car. The concept is a car with sufficiently sophisticated driver assist technology that it can avoid or alert you to avoid almost any collision.
ESP initiates a one-sided braking intervention that can move the vehicle out of the danger zone.
That's a talent that is distinct from being able to drive itself. Volvo's new XC90, for example, is a first step toward its goal of crash-free, or at least injury from crash-free, cars by 2020. Among the tech to get it there is automatic braking to prevent frontal collisions, automatic braking to avoid turning left into oncoming traffic, pedestrian and animal detection, road edge and barrier detection, adaptive cruise control with steering assistance, and vehicle-to-vehicle communications. None of this is science fiction, although the V2V technology is still being brokered between regulators and car makers. At CES, Ford gave a very realistic look at coming V2V technology that can let cars signal each other.
Wow!
Providing another layer of inputs to help them avoid collisions.
A really important and efficient way to warn someone is the audible warnings.
I heard a
Exactly.
Okay, which means get out the way.
Warning, exactly.
BMW is showing how an array of laser scanners looking out from around the car can detect almost anything that is about to occupy the same space as the vehicle, the purest definition of a collision, from another car to a pedestrian to a wall.
And we need to keep in mind that the driver is the best sensor that we have. However, drivers do tend to get distracted, and we need to bring him back into the loop, which we do by providing the warning and assisting him with the braking situation.
The European Union is aiming for 0 road fatalities by 2050, and sooner than that, cutting them in half by 2020, largely relying on these kinds of technology bundles. Even in showrooms today, it pays to double-check if the car you're considering buying has as many of these technologies as possible on the march toward crash-proof driving. Welcome back to CNET on Cars, coming to you from our home at the Mount Tam Motor Club, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, it's early days for the Apple Watch, of course, and separate from Apple's incursion in the dash with their CarPlay technology, the watch is already getting a bit of a head start on a lot of risks as a way to make driving perhaps a little easier, hopefully a little watch car app we ever saw. It came out on the debut day of the watch, and it works with the company's i line of highly electrified vehicles. You can do what is basically telematics that you're used to on your phone, but now on your wrist. Check the charge of your car. Lock the doors, unlock the doors, get guidance back to where you parked it. Precondition the climate. You can do that easily because it's an electric car. It doesn't really need to start the engine in any sense. And you can also see how the charge is going to map out to where you might want to go. The car will even, through that watch app, suggest the best time to leave to use the least electricity to get there. But again, not really anything you couldn't do on your phone already. Ditto for Porsche's app, which is the same basic basket of telematics, although it works in a broader, more conventional array of their cars. They apply it to Cayenne, Macan, and a few others, as well as their 918 hybrid supercar, but we're basically still in the telematics area. Hyundai's Blue Link app is actually on Android first, since that was the first smartwatch platform of any scale, but as of our show today, it's still in the process of being ported to Apple Watch. Now, Automatic's a popular app you put on your phone. It talks to an OBD2 wireless dongle you stick up under your dash. And it gives you all kinds of information about your trips, your driving style for economy or safety, also where you parked your car and which trips you want to tag as expensible for business. Now, in terms of their watch app, they've chosen to keep things pretty lean and taken just those last two functions, where's my car, and tag this trip as business expense, and port those to the watch as the primary functions. They can bring everything there, they're just not sure it all belongs here, which I think is good, savvy restraint. Now, Pay by Phone is one of the class of connected parking apps that lets you check your status at the meter, feed the thing, find parking spaces in some cases of these apps. It seems like a natural to have on your wrist. That's when you're away from the car, but you want to have a very quick glanceable reminder that, hey, your time is running out, and perhaps you can extend the time right from your wrist. Now, you don't have to buy a new car to use Apple Watch with it. Add-on telematics makers like Viper, for example, know that porting their existing phone apps to Apple Watch is a sexy headline, allowing you to go to your wrist to unlock, precondition, or get the location alerts about your car that you already can get on their phone app, and command a lot of these things by voice. Again, not new, but different. Okay, a couple of organizing principles to help you think about where the watch fits in your driving. First, they have two basic locations. One is while driving, glanceable on your wrist, which tends to already be up high and in your view while you're driving. Tends to be good ergonomics and keeps your gaze roughly where it should be if those notifications are worthwhile. The other area is, of course, out of the car, when you're away from the vehicle and you need something to very quickly and cleanly remind you that maybe you need to get back to your car, time running out on your meter, or an easy way to get back to where your car is if you forgot where you parked it, or tell you if it's charging or needs to be charged. And then you've got two competing areas of platforms that are coming to compete with or perhaps augment the watch. And that would be things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are going to bring a lot of this smart smartphone DNA to a richer, fixed display in the dash that is better integrated with the car. You've also got to keep an eye on head-up display, which car makers are going headlong to adopt. And that can give you an extremely elegant presentation of information right where your glance already is and should be, and again, highly integrated to the vehicle. Either way, the watch is showing some early legs for the driver, but as with most of its modes that it's promising, it is yet to promise that it is better, not just different, from how we're doing things now.